Hello and welcome to the NARFE Configuration Advisory Board tutorial series for the Association Management System, or AMS. Today we're going to walk through creating a new chapter officer and updating an existing officer's term of office through the chapter officer roster. NARFE chapters should update their officer roster and chapter information whenever there is a change. But if nothing is changed between elections, it is always good to review and verify this information on an annual basis, certainly by the beginning of the new year in January. In the AMS, only a key chapter officer may update or download the officer roster. Key chapter officers include the chapter president, the first vice president, the chapter secretary, the chapter secretary treasurer, and the membership chair. If you hold one of these positions, you should see a secondary menu consisting of a set of oval buttons below the dashboard menu bar. We'll look at that in a moment. As a key officer, if you do not see the secondary menu bar, contact NARFE at memberrecords@narfe.org or IT@narfe.org, including your name as it appears on the roster, your ID number, your officer position, and a brief description of the problem. In addition to being able to update and download information, these same officers, along with the chapter legislative chair, the network coordinator, and the newsletter editor, also have access to the NARFE email system, or NES, and NARFE-hosted websites for each of the chapters and the federations. All chapter officers can view membership information. Once you're logged in, go to the main NARFE menu at the top of the page and select the Officer Portal. This will take you to the chapter dashboard. The chapter dashboard has two menu bars. As you can see here, the main chapter menu consists of 4 buttons, and the secondary menu consists of 6 blue oval buttons. If you don't see the secondary menu, select the chapter dashboard button again. Sometimes it needs an additional prompt in order to produce the secondary menu. Non-key officers may not see any oval buttons unless they hold a position such as the chapter network coordinator for NARFE web hosting, the newsletter editor, or the legislative chair. The functions that used to be found under the F7 report are now accomplished using 3 buttons and different screens: the Add Chapter Officer, the Chapter Officer List, and the Update Chapter. Changes enter the database immediately, but may take overnight for all changes to propagate through the entire system before you actually see them. Make a note that you will always add new officers first to avoid removing a key officer who can make updates to your officer roster. From the secondary menu, you're going to select the Add Chapter Officer oval, which will produce a form that allows you to insert the name of the member that you're looking for. Generally only use last names. You type in the name of the member that you want, and this will produce a list of names for you to choose from. Select the one who will be your new officer using the Select button on the right. This opens another form where you can select the position title and start and end dates of that officer's term. The officer's name should be pre-filled under Selected Member text box. The Select Title and Term section is below the member's name. You can select the title from a drop-down list. This is the blue link. However, not all options are listed. If you don't see the title that you are looking for, try typing in the word chapter and then a position title. Position codes are not automatically assigned in AMS, though NARFE and the vendor are working on this. You can assign a member as a chapter president and they have the appropriate access rights in the AMS. However, there may be some latent activity associated with the legacy database until the position code is assigned. If the position code does not appear after 24 hours of creating your new officer, contact NARFE at memberrecords@narfe.org or IT@narfe.org. Below the drop-down menu are the boxes for selecting the beginning and the end of the term, depending on when the chapter holds elections and officers are sworn in, whether annually or biennially. It is easiest to use the calendar along the right side of the selected dates. This is the calendar icon here, and when you select it, this calendar pops up that allows you to select a date. Now, this gives you your current date. However, you can select a date prior to this by selecting the back in time arrow on the left of the month, or forward in time using the right arrow to the right of the year. You can also select the month and year, and this will give you an opportunity to select from 12 months of the year. You can select any one, and a selection of dates that you can also choose. So you can post-date or predate a term of office. You can also add a note about this addition or change in the additional comments box. I usually include election information or previous office holder either stepped down or moved or passed away, something to indicate why this officer might be taking this position, especially if it is out of the regular election period. When this is completed, go down to the Create New Officer button and select. Your new officer will appear on your list either immediately if their terms have already started or on the date when their term begins. However, if they are authorized as key officers, access to AMS to make changes could take up to 24 hours to cycle through the system. Remember, if they are unable to access functions they are authorized for by their title within 24 hours of creating this new officer, contact NARFE at memberrecords@narfe.org or IT@narfe.org. Now we're going to update an existing officer's term of office. To update an existing officer, select the rectangular box in the main dashboard menu, the one that says Chapter Officer List. This will produce a list of all of the officers in your chapter. From this list, you're going to select the name of the officer whose term you want to end. This will produce the chapter update form. The chapter update form will open where you can change the term start and term end dates and add a note about the change. Once again, you have the calendar, and we encourage you to use the calendar function in order to create the terms of office dates. Elections for key officers occur annually according to the calendar year in most chapters. So set the term end date a year ahead. In other words, term ending 12/21/2022, or set it for 1 to 2 months after the actual term expires to allow ample time to make changes, especially during the brutal holiday season when time seems to be unavailable to do much of anything. With the AMS database, we can support more than 2 officers in the same position, as long as they do not overlap terms, such as the existing president's term ends on December 31st, and the new president's term begins on January 1st. In the database on January 1st, the past president whose term ended the day before will no longer be on the list, and the new president will replace them in the NARFE database and on the chapter officer list. Since you've predated their term, they should also have that authorization with the position code. One last word on term overlap. Multiple people in key officer positions could disrupt official communications, such as NARFE notifications, deposit notices, etc. The roster listing only shows the term start, but not the term end. So make sure that you do not overlap key officer positions with a end date and start date. Once you've completed this, hit the save button, always save your work, and you will have updated your officer roster. We're going to talk briefly about updating your chapter information, which appears on the chapter dashboard. On the secondary menu, select the Update Chapter Information button, and it will provide this form, Update Basic Chapter Information form, with your chapter number and location at the very top. You can then insert the amount of your monthly dues, insert relevant information as to your meeting place, where you meet, make a note about your meeting place. If you have more than one, this would be where you would explain that, along with what time and how often you meet, when you don't meet, if there's a lunch before the meeting or after, and an email or contact or phone number for a contact person. You can also include a website URL and a Facebook URL. Don't forget to save your work. This concludes the tutorial on creating a new chapter officer or modifying an existing officer's information. We hope you found this useful. If you have any questions or comments about this tutorial or any problems you might have with AMS, please contact your regional CAB representative. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you next time.